And you won't read that book again because the ending's just too hard to take.
My name's Eddie Winters. You're tuned in to the Rock and Roll Coup d'etat. We've got one very special guest all the way from Burbank, California, Mr. Bertie Higgins. Bertie, how you doing this morning?
Eddie, good morning. How you boys doing?
We are doing good. We got some applause for you. Welcome to the program. We are so excited to have you on, and we've been talking about you all morning.
I love the applause. Did I win something like the Grammy or the Oscars?
Let's make a deal.
Yes, to be honest, you've probably got a lot of awards waiting coming up. You are one of the most busiest entertainers out there, and I've got to say, we were talking about you all morning, playing some clips. You're very busy. You just returned from is it China for
China, yeah.
Guys, that is, by the way, I mean, you were for the New Year's, the Chinese New Year's, is that correct?
Well, I did over the Christmas holidays and New Year's. We did a 6-city tour with my band in China. Then I came home for about 2.5 weeks and went straight back to do 5 television shows for the Chinese New Year's.
Wow.
Viewing audience of internationally about 5 billion people. So I said, I've got to go do this. So we did it.
Wow.
And I've been to China like 10 times in the last year and a half, so I go to China a lot.
Oh my gosh! How do you deal? This is
like
non-musical.
Every 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean how do you deal with the jet lag? That is a lot of adjusting with the time.
Well, it's going on 2 weeks now from my last trip, and I'm just getting over the jet lag. Going over is not bad. You get over it in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Wow.
But coming back is a nightmare. It's serious business. But I'm over it now, and now I've got another week and a half. I head to Texas, Alabama, and Florida, so I'm back on the road again.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, it's funny because you've had an extraordinary career. Obviously, with the hits in the '80s, but you've had this whole I don't know if you want to call it a resurgence or just around the globe. You know, while you're doing your thing here, this big thing has been taking off in Asia, and it's phenomenal. Did I read this right? But Casablanca is one of the biggest songs in Asia right now, or has been in the last few years.
Yeah, it's huge. It amazes me. I'm telling you, Eduardo, I never expected Eddie to be at that stage in my life. But now I've got the number 6 song on the British, UK, and European charts.
Wow.
In the country charts, and we're in the middle of our 5th movie that I'm producing.
Man.
And, man.
So you're slowing down.
I wake up running. I guarantee when I die, I'll slide 50 feet because I'll still be running.
Right.
Momentum.
It's amazing. And to talk about it, you brought up you're working on movies. You've been kind of dabbling in film for years. And you've started a production company, and I guess you work with with your sons down in Burbank. And can you tell us a little bit about? I know you've got a movie project. It's a documentary that you're working on, and I'm excited. Just I can't wait when it comes out. But it's a documentary about I want to say the start of rock and roll with Bill Haley and the Comets. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, actually, we're doing a little bit more. We're going a little deeper than that. Ike Turner's first band was the
Kings of Rhythm.
Yes.
The Rhythm King.
Yeah.
And they had a hit called Rocket 88.
Jackie Brenston.
Yes, great song.
Okay, so that really started it rolling in a direction that Bill Haley picked up that ball.
Right.
I subscribe to...
In 1951, Haley did. Basically, Haley was a yodeler. He was a country act. Gene Autry and guys like that were his heroes. But he was playing a little bar in Gloucester City, New Jersey called the Twin Bars. And it was Bill Haley and the Saddlemen. And they had 4 players, didn't even have a drummer. They had an accordion, a little slide guitar. Bill Haley banged rhythm. They had an upright bass with Marshall Lytle playing the upright bass. And we, basically, within the 6-month gig or so they had there, they created a sound called rock and roll. And to me, that's why the documentary is existing. Even though Chuck Berry and Little Richard and these cats all had input after this. But what Haley did in that little bar influenced every musician, including me, all the way down the road.
Sure.
He created the sound, and it was a marriage of, I believe, Texas swing and R&B, rhythm and blues. But they came up with this, and then it progressed from there. And of course, they had "Rock Around the Clock" from '54,
right,
which was from the film Blackboard Jungle. But how that came to pass was absolutely amazing. It was the B-side of a record. They cut it in 30 minutes at the Pythian Temple in New York, with Milt Gabler, Billy Crystal's uncle,
wow,
producing for Decca Records, and it was a fluke. We interviewed Peter Ford, Glenn Ford's son,
right,
who lives right down the street from me, basically here in Burbank. But him and his dad and mom were living. Eleanor Parker was his mother, the dancer, and the actress and dancer, and they were living in Beverly Hills. Well, Richard Brooks, who directed Blackboard Jungle, came over. He used to pop in to see Glenn Ford, and gave Glenn Ford the lead role. And one night he popped over and said, "Listen, what's that music we hear coming down the hall?" And it was Peter Ford at 12, 13 years old playing "Rock Around the Clock."
Wow.
So he asked to borrow the album, and that became the song in the opening of the film. They used it 3 times in the movie, and that kicked that song up to where it's up for grabs. "White Christmas" or "Rock Around the Clock" is the most recorded and sold single of all time.
Wow.
But just those stories, and we've interviewed some old timers that played with Haley, and before Marshall Lytle, we took a little bit from his book. Marshall was a good friend. He passed away over a year ago, and we promised to make the movie. So we're going to try to tell the true story. It's not going to be full of glim and glamour and bling and
right,
and sizzle. It's going to be guys sitting around talking about what really went down.
Sure.
And that, to me, is the most important thing. I don't care what Bill Haley did in later life. I know he had some difficult later years.
Sure.
But my most critical thing is, how in the hell did you boys, with that little old 4-piece band and a honky-tonk? By the way, we've been there. We went over to the Twin Bar and all that. And how did you create it?
Right.
Where did it come from? I know the club owner at the time hated it because it was a country bar, I mean, real strong Hank Williams type country.
Sure, sure.
But to me, that's the interesting point of the documentary. I mean, we can get all kinds of, probably pulling a lot of recording artists. Well, how did it influence you? No. The thing we're interested in is how it really went down.
Right.
Just got back from Munich, Germany, where the biggest Bill Haley and the Comics Museum in the world is in Munich, Germany.
Wow.
Son of a gun.
And we spent a week over there filming and working and talking. So that's the movie.
It sounds great. That you mentioned, Germany, and I know that when Blackboard Jungle showed in Germany, the kids were so in a craze when they heard "Rock Around the Clock" that they ripped the seats out of the theaters. And
that was Britain as well.
Oh, man.
And Bill Haley was very discouraging to him.
Right.
He hated to see that what he had created was causing this sort of pandemonium and borderline violence around the world.
Sure.
Where he was at.
It's amazing. Now, a project like this, obviously a documentary is, it takes some time to get every location and every interview. People are up in age, so sometimes people are passing away before you get to them. How long have you been working on this particular project?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. And is it?
Which, when we make feature films, not documentaries, and we've done 4 or 5 features, you have a 90-page script, you chart it out, you plan it out, you do your pre-production, and then you figure out how many pages per day you're going to get and locations.
Right.
And you shoot it in 18 to 20 days. You're done. Then you cut it, we're done. But a documentary can go on and on and on. I mean, there's dozens of more people we want to talk to.
Sure.
There's only so much screen time you have. So we're going to really focus in on this and get it right. I'm personally tired of hearing Chuck Berry say, "I'm the father of rock and roll." Well, that's not true, Chuck, and you know it.
Right.
You were driving a truck or whatever you were doing. But the point is that we want to tell it late 40s into 54. Then we're out of it.
That's such a I can't wait. It sounds like such a great undertaking. You must be excited. It's like uncovering all of these stories, like a archaeologist, if you will. I mean, it must be.
Yeah, it's really, and there's many layers to it, Eddie.
Sure.
many layers to what went down. There's a lot of. We were going to do a drama with this thing, and then a docudrama. We went straight to documentary because I don't. To do a drama, you got to have a lot of drama.
Right.
And back then, there wasn't a lot of drama going on with these kids. I mean, you got to understand, Marshall was 19 years old.
Sure.
These were kids playing. Haley was the old man. He was 28 or 29 years old. But most of the guys, all the guys in the band, Dick Richards on drums. I mean, these were kids.
Franny Beecher?
Playing and amazed when it exploded in their face.
Right.
It's an amazing time. And to create the sound that literally changed the world. And that's so interesting to me. I can't get over it.
Yeah, it is very, I mean, imagine doing something that you kind of think is just incidental and then it affects the globe. It is a profound, trying to understand that. Lightning in a bottle, they say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you got a bar band, playing with cowboy hats on.
Right.
And chasing women and drinking, whatever they did. Well, I know what I did at 19 or 20 years old. But
right.
Yeah, I'm sure they did pretty much the same. And all of a sudden, this magical little sound just gels together. It's amazing to me.
Yes.
Beside that, I'm getting ready a new album for China. I just signed with the largest record company in China.
Ooh.
The new album's called The Silk Road. Well, that's a working title. And I'm working on, just finished 2 new songs for it. And then we're getting ready to go back in the studio when I hear. And my record label is distributed by Universal Music.
Right.
They want a folk album from me to go up in competition for the Grammys next year.
Wow.
For Best Contemporary Folk Album. But I've always been a folkie at heart. I started playing with my old beat-up Martin guitar in a bar on a stool. And so we're going to do the folk album, get this film finished. I've got a couple concerts coming up. One a big concert with me and the Bellamy Brothers down in Tampa Bay in my hometown of Tarpon Springs.
Right.
And that's coming up March 8th. There was a police officer who was murdered in the line of duty in that little town about 2.5 months ago, and left behind 6 children. The family's kind of destitute. They have no money.
Right.
And I heard about this in China. So I got David Bellamy on the phone, who's an old friend, and I said, Dave, will you come in and do this concert with me? We're doing it at the high school stadium. And all the proceeds go for that wife and that mother of those 6 children.
Right.
Then I got Stars Fell on Alabama, which is a pretty big deal on the Gulf Coast of Alabama, and that comes up March 21st.
Wow.
So between the 8th when I finish that and the 21st, I'm going fishing.
Sure, I was going to say, when do you sleep? Now,
actually,
bowling night.
Funny you should ask. Since the jet lag has been on me, I'm up every morning at 3.
Oh, wow.
And then I work till 2 in the afternoon, and then I take a little snap nap, and I go back at it.
Jeez, that is... I can imagine.
I feel like I'm going through a pregnancy with you. I said, well, baby, you are. I'm getting ready to give birth to a lot of kids.
Right, right. Now, Bertie, you said you're going to be working on a new record. Is this? I'm having a hard time keeping count. Are you up to 19 records now under your belt?
I think this new one will be the 21st.
Oh my God! See, I've
wow.
21 records. I mean, it's amazing because your productivity level is just nonstop. And you mentioned you might be doing a folk record. In what regard do you think your approach to this record is going to be different than, say, some of your previous work, like The Year of the Dragon and things of that nature?
Well, Eddie. And hey, Jeremy, what's going on? I hear you yakking in the background. You all right?
I'm doing great. I would say that what Bertie Higgins would bring to a folk album is melody. Melody is king with Bertie Higgins.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's going to be a real simple album. We'll probably cut it in Nashville. I do all my music in Nashville, and I do my vocals out here in Burbank in my own little studio, because then I can spend days devoted to one song.
Right.
It's going to be a simple album. It's going to be an acoustic album, and I'm debating right now on the songs. I've got some things like some older things that I just picked. I picked up 50 more of my songs that were handled by famous music out of New York that have never been recorded. And there's a few in that batch. And this one I was just starting to write. And there's some pretty primitive sounding stuff that I'm going, did I write that? Oh, no.
Right.
But you know what, guys? You just don't want to ever quit. Ever. I mean, what are you going to do? Play golf?
Right.
Sit on the porch, drink whiskey, and watch cars go by? What are you going to do?
Not me.
Chase young women? I don't know what to do.
Well,
here,
that's of interest.
or chase old women.
Exactly.
Exclude
But
none.
the point is, guys, you can't ever quit. You
Right.
Never let it go.
Wow.
It's amazing. I mean, I look forward to this, and I noticed that because of this popularity, some of the songs, obviously you're releasing them in Asia. Some you did the remake of Casablanca with a young musician. It was in Mandarin, if I'm not mistaken. And when you're putting together an album, are you thinking in terms of that audience? Are you thinking in terms of a global audience, or how do you put those kind of thoughts together when you're making a record?
Well, the new CD, the new album called The Silk Road. You know what the Silk Road was, don't you?
I do believe, yes.
Started before the time of Christ. It was no more than a dirt path from China to Europe.
Right.
Hang on, there's someone calling you, but I won't take it. But I don't want to blurp out this thing too much. Okay. The Silk Road. Well,
that was the trade line, right?
It's going to be a pretty laid back album.
Wow.
I'm working on the title song right now called The Silk Road. In fact, I just got tracks in from Nashville last night. We're mixing them this morning.
Oh wow.
Then I got to do vocals. I don't really think about it that much. I don't have management. I got rid of them 30 years ago. I never found one that was worth having. I do have agents to book shows, and I no longer have a producer. I produce my own material, and at my age, I pretty much know what I want to hear, how I want it to sound. So I really don't think it through a lot. Even though the Silk Road, I'm designing a couple of songs for it specifically. The folk album, working title, is Dancing with the Devil. I kind of like that title.
I like it too.
Dancing with the Devil. I'm focusing more on that than I have ever done anything before because I really like that sort of music. And it's going to be almost 100% original stuff. So,
wow! And
I have a song called "Going to Alistown." I have one called "The King of Thule," which I wrote with my great-great-grandfather Goethe, the poet.
Oh wow!
I took some of his poetry. He wrote Faust.
Of course.
Back in the 1700s in Germany, and I added lyrics to it, added melody to it. So I've got "The King of Thule," and other folky things that I like. I have one that I'm going to redo called "The Girl."
Right.
That I wrote is probably one of my favorite little songs because it's so utterly simple. It's the greatest thing in the world, guys, to tell a woman that you really love her. And I communicate that, or I try to in my music. I really try to communicate that.
Nothing more masculine than showing a lady your vulnerability.
Exactly.
And other things of your body. Yes. Here, let me show you my vulnerability.
Right. I'm very vulnerable at this moment.
When you're right, you're right.
That's funny.
So, Bertie, when you're thinking about writing, I mean, this is a question that a lot of artists get asked, but I mean, inspiration, things of when you pick up a guitar and you start strumming and you find the right chord pattern and the right key that goes with your voice, and you like what you hear. What's the mood that you that you allow yourself to get in when you start writing songs?
Well, it's a kind of a funny thing, fellas. I mean, I'll roll a song around in my head for a year before I'll try to put it down.
Right.
I normally start with a title. I have 2 new titles I'm working on. A Girl's Name, A Mandolin. I like that.
Right.
Has a ring.
Plus, I'll put a mandolin on the song.
I was going to say.
And the other one I like is Young and Hungry. We were young and hungry. I kind of like that because
right.
But I normally start with a title, and then I roll it around in my brain for a while. I just wrote one called California.
Right.
The chorus is I'm dying out here in Southern California.
Right.
I just wish to God that it would rain.
That's hilarious. I notice a lot of your songs have a real great sense of humor, such as like the Redneck Riviera, things of that nature that you kind of, it's a little tongue in cheek, but it's got a very obviously serious side to it, a very playful lyric, and it's kind of a real special quality that I think you do a really great job of balancing. And did you ever? I mean, obviously, poetry is in your lineage. Did you ever spend a lot of time developing that, or was that something that just came natural?
Just came natural, guys. I never had any acting lessons, and I act in all my movies. I never had any singing lessons. No one ever taught me to play the guitar.
Wow.
You know what? I'm firmly convinced that if you can do it, you can do it.
Sure.
Otherwise, next please, check please. I'm leaving now.
Right.
You just, and I do believe in the Lord, and I believe that we have gifts that are given, that come down through our lineages, through our DNA from our ancestors.
Sure.
And if you don't pursue those gifts, then you're not doing right in your life. And my idea with my music is to reach as many people as I possibly can and to make their lives a little better. Speaking of the double entendres, in a song called Jamaica Me Crazy, a minute ago, well, I hung out on the nude beach.
Hey.
There it is.
See what he did there?
I see it.
I hung out on the nude beach. I went, whoa.
I mean, it's subtle, but it's good. I love it. I love it. Bertie, I was going to ask you, going back a little bit, we were talking about your early period when you first started. You were a drummer working with the legendary Tommy Rowe back in Florida. And can you tell me a little bit? Do you still play the drums? Do you still do any of that once you left drums and went to guitar playing? How did you even get into that?
Well, you got to understand, I guess, the drums, I started off in drums when I was 12 or 13 years old. My father bought me an old marching drum, and I joined the high school band as a drummer. And then I had a little group in the band in the high school that we had playing little sock hops and things like that. And I was playing drums, and then I joined a band called the Romans, R-O-M-A-N-S, and it was during Beatlemania, and it was crazy, and Tommy found us and put the E in there after his last name.
Sure.
And we played with Tommy for a couple of years, and we branched off on our own and signed a recording deal with ABC Paramount Records at the time. But I decided somewhere in that first year with Tommy, my mother taught me to play a little ukulele when I was 12 or 13, 12, I guess, and I picked up a guitar, and I said, I've got to write songs. I've got to write songs. I don't know what it is. It's not a monkey on my back. It's a damn gorilla on my back.
Right.
I've got to write songs. So that's when I started writing. And it just drove me to it, guys. I can't explain the emotion that went behind it. It was just something you have to do.
Sure.
It's just something, a higher power coming at you saying, hey, this is where you're going to make your mark if the mark is to be made.
And you just stuck at it and just kept writing.
Yeah, and some of those earlier songs were so introverted. And finally, I moved to Atlanta in 1980, late 79, 80, and hooked up with Bill Lowry, great publisher, Sonny Limbo. And I started listening to these guys. And it was like, well, Bertie, this is a great song you got that you wrote last year when you were in Florida, but it needs this kind of thing to be done. Got to move the chorus around, you got to change these lines, blah, blah. I said, well, you're ripping the arms off my baby. But I finally started listening to people who had success, who knew more than I knew. And they became my mentors. And within 18 months after moving there, I had the #1 song in the nation.
Wow.
It was so funny. All the local players in Atlanta have been there beating on the door for years, go, where the hell did this guy come from?
Right, just showing up. I know they
showed
like...
up in there, but we worked every day. We worked 14 hours every day, 7 days a week on getting me ready for what came. And then when Key Largo hit, I couldn't explain to you how that hit. It was just so phenomenally crazy.
Right.
The things that took place. Ducks lining up in a row.
I can explain how it hit. Your voice is as smooth as butter on that. Your croons on that are extraordinary.
And
here's the deal. None of the labels we submitted to, they kept saying, Bertie, you don't sing worth a damn. Now, you write pretty good songs, but we just don't like how you sing.
Hell with that.
Yes.
They say, you don't sound like Neil Diamond or Kenny Rogers. I say, well, I'm not supposed to.
Right.
But it was hilarious. And, in fact, I got my manager at the time, who's now deceased, Charles, got a note from Columbia Records in New York, head of A&R, artist and repertoire.
Right.
It said, Dear Charles, Interest in Bertie right now is at an all-time low.
Oh.
Next time, hold the tape, just send the box.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what I put up with back then. Oh, my God. Talk about rejection, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the music industry has a reputation for never being wrong about anything.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody ever didn't sign the Beatles. No one ever got thrown under the bus.
I'm telling you, man, you know what? That's one thing interesting about this business and the film business. You never know what mom and pop is going to say yes.
Right.
You never know what they're going to like.
They still don't have an idea.
Sitting in the dark in a theater out in Boise, Idaho, people in L.A. don't know what they're going to like. You know what you do is you just say a prayer, rear back, and go with your gut on these things. Key Largo, the only reason I knew we might have something, we were playing in a little honky-tonk in Augusta, Georgia. A tough bar. In fact, when we moved the gear on Sunday before we did our 2-week stint, there was blood on the dance floor from the night before.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And I said, boys, are we in the right spot? But I just written Key Largo. Never recorded it, never played it. We had to do that song 5 and 6 times every night in that bar. And I said, we may have something here.
Wow. It's a great test. I mean, the doing Key Largo, I heard that record took a while to get recorded, and then once it was released, it even took a while before it got its legs and went to the top of the charts.
Well, you know what was interesting is I knew I had to get a recording of it. I didn't have any money, so I borrowed $700 from my mother.
Wow.
And I said, Nana, banana. I said, give me $700. And she said, just pay me back. That's fine. So she gave it to me. Excuse me. And the guys playing on the recording were my bar band from Smokies.
Is that right? Wow.
We didn't get any pro players from Nashville or Atlanta. We used the bar band.
Yeah, it sounds perfect.
And then we had to record it again. It's a long story, guys. Oh, my God. It's a long story. And I'd broken up with my girlfriend, and I really loved her. And so one little radio station started playing it in Gainesville, Georgia, a little FM, WWID. So the only song that went in the top 10, there was started with one radio station playing.
Wow.
And I called the program director. I said, listen, could you play this tomorrow at 1 o'clock for me? And they said, sure, at 1 o'clock sharp. Excuse me. So I went and picked up Beverly. She was kind of running around Atlanta. I was running around Atlanta. And I picked her up in my car, and we sat there. And at 1 o'clock, the song came on. And she said, is that you? And I said, yeah. Jeez. She said, you're singing flat on the last chorus.
Oh. That was supposed to be your hook.
Putting it bluntly, we got married and we're still married.
Wow.
My goodness.
Well done. That's where the applause was for. Holy smokes.
The other thing, though, is so funny. Yeah, thanks, man. I am literally sitting on the floor of a studio apartment in Atlanta. It's raining. It's freezing outside. Must be just above freezing because the ice wasn't freezing yet.
Right.
And I'm sitting there naked with an old quilt my mother made for me at 3 in the morning wrapped around my shoulders. And I had a 6-pack of beer on the floor and a pack of cigarettes. And I'm sitting there going, this is not pleasant. I wasn't a stick of furniture in the place. I said, this is not pleasant. And all of a sudden I remembered, in my back pocket I had an advance check from ASCAP for $100,000.
Holy smokes.
And I sat straight up and I said, this is BS. I never went back to sleep. And the next day, my life changed entirely.
Wow.
I've been broke so long, I forgot I had any money.
Wow. Right. You weren't even used to having those kinds of checks.
And back then, $100,000 was a lot of money.
That was a lot more money. Yeah, exactly.
It'd still be a good taste.
Yeah.
It'd still be a wonderful payday, wouldn't it?
Right.
I mean, we could go on for hours about this. I'm thinking about writing a book about, I'm not sure anyone would be interested in reading it, but it was so phenomenal what happened between, say, the age of 13 and now, and different people, different scenarios, different things that happen. I'm sure all musicians or struggling filmmakers go through a lot of the same things, but there's some things that happened to me over those years that are really weird. I got to write about this.
I would love to read it. I mean, it's just such a. I mean, also it's still going. You know what I mean? That's the other thing.
I'll buy the uncorrected galley proofs of that.
I don't know, fellas. I mean, I do write screenplays. I do have a novel half finished. I haven't Haven't no time. I'm just running.
Right.
You know what? I love every minute of it. I don't even like to sleep anymore. Does that make any sense?
How can you? You know what I mean? There's too much on your mind.
I wake up at 3 in the morning and I go, I got to go downstairs to the office. I got 3 computers running full time. I got things I got to do.
Right.
Down.
Now,
you know what? I've never got an outside office. There's a reason why. You're talking to me. I'm still in my.
Say that again.
I'm still in my nightgown and pajamas.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Sitting here since 5:30 this morning.
Wow. Well, you got no time to even get dressed. That's no time.
Nightcap on, sleeping mask.
Yep. It's really, you know what? I love night gowns, long shirts down to your ankles.
Sure.
I'm crazy, man. I live in a whole different world.
Wow. It is, and I wanted to ask, we were talking about Key Largo, and I've got to ask, I don't know if you've ever been asked this before, and I'm sure you've been asked a lot of things, but there is a video that you made for Key Largo, shot on film, that when I saw this originally, I remember thinking how cool it was, and I saw it recently, and it is timeless on how cool it was then, and it seemed to be a very inspiration for what was to be the 80s, if you will, Miami Vice and this and that. Can you tell us a little bit? Do you remember shooting that particular motion picture video for Key Largo?
Yeah, I remember everything about it. We decided to shoot in my hometown of Tarpon Springs, Florida, which is a little village on the Gulf, about 25 to 30 miles west of Tampa. Tampa sits on the bay, Tarpon's on the Gulf.
Okay.
It's full of Greek sponge fishermen that came over from Greece at the turn of the century. And just a great place to grow up.
Sure.
I mean, I'm a diver. I'm a spear fisherman. I've done everything on the water you can do. My father taught me. And we spent every summer, spring, fall in the water. Wow. Make a long story short, CBS decided at that time to do videos, and I was one of the first they did, and they sent down Andy Warhol's director to Tarpon Springs to direct this video. And back then, it cost me $30,000,
Paul Morrissey,
which came
was
out of
that
royalties.
the fella?
Uh-huh.
Andy Warhol's director. So,
wow.
God.
So they sent him down, nice older gent, and the script was very simple. In fact, the boat I was in was my brother-in-law's boat. What was it? It doesn't matter. At any rate, we needed a girl. So he went to Tarpon Springs High School to the senior class and found Patty Wolf.
Wow.
And said, have you ever been in a movie? He said, who wants to be in a video? And a few girls put their hands up, and Patty was very fetching and very beautiful, and he pulled her right out of the senior class. And she ended up becoming a producer for ABC Sports in New York. But she came on, and we did the video together, and we did it in, I think we did it in 2 days. Might have been just one long day.
Right.
And it was shot on 35 film.
Gosh.
Really an interesting shoot. But the most interesting thing about this, and then I'll cap this with this, Scott Shannon, who's now one of the top DJs in the United States. He's at WCBS New York, was at WRBQ in Tampa. And Scott has always been major DJ guy. In fact, we interviewed him for the Haley Project. We went to New York and sat down at CBS Studios and talked with him. But he just became one of the first VJs at VH1, which was the adult contemporary wing of MTV.
Sure.
But they had no programming, guys. So I recall one day Scott was over at my house. I'd moved back to Tarpon, had a beautiful home on the river with boat and pool and all that stuff. And we threw him and a couple of other DJs on my Sea Ray boat and went out offshore, off the island off Tarpon Springs, drinking, carrying on, partying, and crazy. And we came back in, and I'd just gotten 2 3/4-inch copies videotape of Key Largo.
Oh, wow.
The video. And I said, Scott, I love you. You're my brother. Here's a gift. Here's one of two. Here's one of two. And it was an original Key Largo video. So about 6 months later, he became VJ with VH1. And they played that damn thing 25 times a day because they had no program.
Yeah, they had no videos.
Yeah.
Right.
And they ran that video and ran it. And I think that helped sink it in the minds of America as an absolute bona fide platinum standard.
Sure.
If it hadn't been for Scott, I don't know what would have happened. But
Wow.
that's a crazy story. Think about how crazy that is. It makes any sense to me.
It's amazing the serendipity that your music, your life, just the synchronicity, if you will, of just how things have kind of happened for you. I mean, it seems. I mean, you put it very well. I mean, it's just a gift of something from a higher power, if you will. It's just a phenomenal connection of a series of things, events that take place.
I'm convinced you will be what you think about most of the time. You must be honest with yourself. Do you have talent for this?
Right.
The other thing is, if you positively think these things through, you can program your own dreams. You can literally program your subconscious mind, and I believe the subconscious mind works 24 hours a day. It'll do what it's told or what you ask it to do. And things line up that you never expect. And that's the interesting thing about, we have gifts we don't even know about. We haven't even touched on with our minds, and we're just one step above the monkey. If people understood what I understand, they could change their world. The world could literally change. But I'm not going to get any sort of soapbox here, guys. I'm not trying to get weird on you.
No, I love it.
You will be what you think about most of the time, and your words have power. Don't forget, what you say travels. You got to be careful what you say.
Sure.
Stay away from negative thinking, negative words, negative people. People are always dragging your butt down. Hang out with people who are positive, who support you during the times when things seem the leanest and the darkest.
Right.
That's when you pull your butt out of the hole and you move on. The other thing, if you've never been to mainland China, go.
What? I've never been, and you've been several times. Tell me a little bit about the experience of going to China. What is the positive
well, it's
thing?
It's not just China, fellas. It's China, Japan, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. That whole area of the world is so different. I mean, you go to Europe, it's kind of the same as the U.S.
Sure.
Think about it. England, Germany, France, kind of like the U.S. Language is a little different in a couple of them, but it's same stuff. You go to China, and unfortunately, it's becoming more and more like the U.S. Please. At any rate, and I'm a patriot. Don't misunderstand me, but absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. It's amazing how different and how similar people are.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the same issues: raise your children, feed the family,
right?
Get the kids educated. Maybe drive a halfway decent car, same as the United States. But the way they go about it and the environment that they're in is so unique. China's wonderful. Unfortunately, there's no I keep looking for the little village with the old guy with an ox cart, up to his knees in a rice paddy.
Right.
I'm sure it exists, but I haven't seen it, and I've been over there many, many times.
Wow.
I'm thinking, okay, we're going to Kunming, China, which is in outer Mongolia, to do a show. Well, we're going to finally see a village. Oh, Kunming's got 7 million people living there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's just, there's a lot of folks over there, guys. A lot of peeps running around.
Is there a Tarpon
Kuala
Springs?
Lumpur, Malaysia, great. Okay, get a chance, go to China.
You aren't playing the honky tonks out there, Bertie. You're playing the big,
No, you're right.
the
I've
big
seen
barns.
But you know what? There's good things to be said about playing the honky tonk. Woo!
There's no honky tonks. I mean, in those shows, by the way, I mean, you're playing pretty. I mean, like you said, you did the event with Michael Bolton and televised to, billions of people. I mean, what are the experiences that you have playing in front of this large audience, or audiences, I should say? I mean, in comparison to doing shows here, and then you go over there, and it's a whole other world. Does that give you a little bit of nervousness when you're doing these big shows?
It certainly is superstardom in China,
right?
Which I don't like even to use the word star, superstar. I don't care. I'm just a recording artist and songwriter and movie maker. But yeah, I mean, when I did when Michael was on the night before, we were doing the CCTV annual New Year's gala show. Well, they go through New Year's for a week over there.
Sure.
It's crazy, pandemonium. and they all go home to their home towns and visit with the family. And Beijing, literally, you go lay in the middle of the streets in Beijing, no car would hit you. Everyone's gone.
Wow.
But when I walked out on stage one night, several times, I did a show with Condoleezza Rice over there.
So, wow.
Down at Sanya Island,
Does
which
she
is a
sing?
resort island down near Hong Kong. When I walked out on that stage, you got to see the pictures of this. I look like a little pissant standing there. I was no more than an inch tall. And this huge LED screen behind me goes up for, 5 or 6 stories. And there's 30,000, 40,000 people sitting in the Olympic Stadium and another billion watching you. You can talk about something that'll tighten your butt up.
Right.
And what goes through my head is amazing. I'm going, Bertie, do you really belong out here? Do you really belong out here? What the hell's going on? You don't belong out here. Funny stuff.
Wow.
It can get scary, guys.
I can only imagine. I mean, there's nothing really to prepare you for that kind of reception. I mean, it's just, you just got to do it. You just got to step out there.
Not since you were first born, I think. Are you going to get as big a surprise?
Yeah, that's.
I would have never thought in 1,000 years, boys, that I would be doing what I'm doing in Asia. Never.
Right.
Never. So there it is.
It's absolutely
Only
phenomenal.
think positive thoughts.
Yeah.
No matter how grim it gets. Don't listen to people putting you down. Don't listen to your senses. Because people are going to create doubt in your head. And that's one of the keys to your success is don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. And then again, you've got to go to an area where you got a shot.
Sure.
In other words, you can't be a sponge diver and live in the cornfields of Kansas.
Right.
There's no sponges growing between those corn stalks. You got to go where it can happen for you.
Right.
That's difficult. It was hard for me to leave Tampa Bay. I had a great little following with my little Martin guitar sitting in a bar, packed house every night, doing original songs, sitting alone on a bar stool. I was making, $700-800 a week way back then. And I said, God, I don't want to leave this, but I want bigger than this. So I pulled up stakes and moved to Atlanta and starved. But we prevailed because of positive thinking and damn hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it the same thing that brought you to Burbank, in a sense, later in your life?
Yeah, well, I flipped a coin. I said, well, either heads I'm going to Burbank or to California, and tails I'm going to Nashville to write songs.
Wow.
But my son, Julian, just graduated from high school at Tarpon Springs. He'd won a film festival award as best documentary in a small film festival in Central Florida. And he was creating movies with his little brother Aaron, with a friend of theirs named Aaron Moorhead, when they were kids, 12, 13. I bought him a little VHS camera. They were doing a still motion movement of these little clay figures and stuff in the driveway. But Julian said, Dad, since he was in 3rd grade, he said, I want to be a film erector. I said, what? I want to be a film erector. I said, okay. And I said, when he graduated, I turned to him, I said, what are you going to do? Dad, I want to be a film director. And I said, well, son, we can't do it in Tarpon Springs. I'll move to Los Angeles with you.
Wow.
So I jerked my little brother out of his sophomore year at high school, and we went to L.A., and I put him through film school out here, which didn't do much. He had the talent for it. He didn't need it.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's just a natural-born film director.
Almost should have just given him the dough to make his movie.
Yep. So we came out here, moved into this townhouse, which I hated in Burbank, and I'm still in it. But I'm just too lazy to move.
Right.
And,
too busy to move.
Too busy. Hell, I ain't got time to pack no bags, except to go on another trip.
Right.
But he got out of film school, and I'd always been interested in film. I was mentored some by Burt Reynolds and Richard Boone. And
Richard Boone Paladin?
Yeah.
Son of a gun. I'm a big Have Gun Will Travel fan.
Yeah, well, he's a good actor.
Oh,
but
one of my
he mentored
favorites.
me in the basics of screenwriting and acting, and Burt jumped in, and Burt and I became pretty good friends. I did a show with him called B.L. Stryker, the ABC Mystery Movie of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
And he taught me some about screenwriting. And so I came out here, and I always had an itch for it. So I turned to Julie, and I said, look, you can either mess around and shoot little short videos and music videos with your buddies from film school, or we can raise a few dollars and shoot a low-budget feature film.
Sure.
So I said, okay. So I made one phone call and raised the money. And we shot it. We're riding to the opening day, 7:30 in the morning. Had to be there at 8, call time. He said, "Dad, I've never been on a movie set in my life." And I said, "Well, that makes 2 of us, son." Well, now it's distributed worldwide.
Wow.
Through the largest DVD distributor called the Entertainment One. I said, "Man," so here we went. Then we did film after film, and now we're working on another one. I got another one planned.
Wow. So it's just nonstop. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, and also just to be able to work with your kids and to be able to share that excitement and journey with them.
Well, they can be a pain in the butt too. They're both creative people.
Sure.
Oh, of course.
Aaron now has his own set design and prop company out here.
Oh, wow.
And he's been working a lot on television shows, so he's working steady. Julian's been directing for a couple of companies, making their commercials for them, waiting on our new project, and we're going to Dallas to talk to Bill Haley's youngest son and Bill Haley's last wife.
Wow.
But, yeah, the kids are doing fine. At least they don't come to me every month and say, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow $500 to help pay my rent?"
Right.
You got them gigs.
I'm a little old, isn't it, boy? I told you not to leave the house, didn't I?
Right. God. Wow. I mean,
Now,
it's...
my eldest son, Damien, is the #1 rave DJ in the world. He's big.
Wow.
He's huge.
I might be on that list, but farther down.
No, he's doing well. My daughter's the only staying one. She's been with Southwest Airlines for about 15 years.
Oh, wow. Gosh. I mean,
But
it's...
Daddy flies for free, and I said, "Baby, don't quit that job."
Helping the family business.
I got to go to China 10 times a year.
So it's, guys, it's been fun. It's been great. We have a good time. There's sometimes I look in the mirror and I go, "What?
Right. Well...
Who are you?"
Well, I gotta say, Bertie, you look and sound great, and it just sounds like, and you sound healthy and happy, and I'm really very excited for you and happy that you the success just keeps going, and your life is just going in a direction. If you ever get time to write your biography, write the story of Bertie Higgins, I would love to read it.
Uncorrected galley proof.
It's going to be pretty revealing. Some people to go, "You sorry little so and so."
But I also,
guys, here's the deal: don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the money, even though money is nice. Mm-hmm. And I've had it, and I haven't had it. It's been up and down.
Sure.
Right now, I'm crawling back up to my next big fortune chunk of money because things are starting to roll along again. Just don't do it for the money. Do it because you have to do it. You have no choice. Do it because you're meant to do it. It's your destiny.
It's a great way to live, and you're not distracted by the money.
I mean, money. It's great. I mean, I love money. Who doesn't?
Sure.
I just bought a new little Mercedes 2-seater in the driveway, and my wife went, "What?"
Right.
Wow.
Well, all of my friends are buying Harley Davidsons, and I've dropped a few motorcycles in my life, and I said, "No, I'm not going down that road."
Yeah, four wheels.
I put the top down and put on my sunglasses and my little Apple cap, and I cruise around Burbank in my car. I have fun.
I love it. I mean, it sounds great. I got to ask, when you wrap up the production and are about to release the documentary, do you have any kind of projected time for that?
Well, we did. We've set 3 to 4 different goal marks and haven't made them. I'm going, we're not going to do this, Julian, my son. I said, let's just finish it when it's finished.
Right.
We have investors going, "Where's the money?" I'm going, when it's finished.
Sure.
It's one of these things you can't rush, because it just occurred to me yesterday at 5:30 in the morning. I was thinking about the Bill Haley, actually it's from Marshall Lytle's book, partially. He was a bass player, and I said, "You know what, Bertie? This entire documentary is white. We need black influence in this, because that's where it started."
Sure.
Mm-hmm. That's when I started researching the Ike Turner band back in the late 40s. We're going to try to round some of those guys up and interview them, because you can't really step into the world of rock and roll without stepping into the world of rhythm and blues.
Of course.
There's just no way.
It sounds...
So we're going to make this like it should be. So that's going to take another couple of months of time.
Well,
we haven't even started to cut it yet, guys. That's going to be the toughest.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like such a deep project, but a labor of love, without a doubt. And
well, we've literally confined ourselves to 1949 to 1954, when Rock Around the Clock hit so big and the band split up. And why they split up? Over a $50 a week raise.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's usually...
How do you walk away from the Beatles when they're the hottest band on the planet? And that's what Bill Haley and the Comets were.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Bertie, we'd love to have you back on the program when when this film wraps up and you're ready to promote it. We'd love to have you back on and share a little bit more about it and also talk a little bit more about your experiences in doing these tours in Asia, and just a phenomenal story and such a wonderful person to speak with.
We have more questions.
Thanks, guys. One more tour I did we don't need to talk about later is my tour of Saudi Arabia. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever done in my life.
Don't say.
And I want to say this. Mick Stavanovich runs my label. I want to tell Mickey hello.
You got it.
Okay, boys?
Sure thing.
When you get Bertie Higgins on the show, it does itself.
Well, listen, guys. Never say never.
You got it.
Never say never. And I will tell you something. No means maybe, and maybe means absolutely yes. Keep that in mind.
That's some good advice. You know what?
Page from your book.
I love if you ever make fortune cookies by Bertie Higgins. I swear to God, I would have a bunch of those. Those are, I mean, it's amazing. You've been.
By the way, fortune cookies are an American invention
from San Francisco.
San Francisco, probably.
Exactly.
Okay, fellas, I got to get back to mixing this song, "The Silk Road." Let me get back to it.
You got it. Well, Bertie, thank you so much.
Now for a day and a half, and let's see what we can't get done here.
We'll check up on your progress. We appreciate you taking the time out today to be on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you, and all you people out there listening. I love each and every one of you. You should love each other. Keep your chins up and move forward. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going, okay? Okay, boys.
You got it.
Have a great, great week.
You too, Bertie. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Take care. There he is, Mr. Bertie Higgins.